Welcome to part 3 of my devlog journey. This video is going to serve more as a recap of everything I've done from the previous video to the current date. There's a lot to cover, so let's get into it. The first thing I did after devlog 2 was immediately overhaul the graphics, and for a couple of reasons. Firstly, this will make the development process much easier. Secondly, over time, with the additions of new items, mechanics, lighting, and VFX, all these things add up together and impact your performance. And lastly was because the survivor model I downloaded off the Unreal Asset Store was stealing the show. So this is what I've added since then. Firstly, I'll go over the sound effects. I've added most of which using the method that I created in the last video of using FL Studios. If you want to see how I created these sound effects, go check out the other video. I'll link it up here. So for the sound effects, I added a sprinting SFX to the character with a randomizer and a modulator. I created a custom sound effects for the enemies with attenuation so you hear them louder as you get closer. I also gave them a randomizer and a modulator. I did the same thing for the shooting sound effect for the gun, so there's variation. I created a flashlight button sound effect. I did this with a pen. Then I created thunder sound effects, as well as adding a breeze or a wind howling sound effect that mimics the ocean. I added them together and I made them play in the level. I think that covers up all the SFX that I did during this time. On to the more gameplay related topics. First, I created a map. I adjusted the map after creating it to a lower resolution than it was initially created to give it a low poly look. Then I added hills. I paved the path for the character. I created a low poly material for the map. I added trees. I added rocks and started creating an area meant to be a dock. And the reason being is essentially I want there to be a natural feel to why your character is here. I don't want to just pop up your characters here in the middle of the woods, in the middle of the map. There needs to be some narrative, some mesh, some illusion of how your character got here. And I thought the best way of doing that was making it that he came off of a boat. Maybe he's on a different continent, he's on a different island, whatever may be the case going throughout the story. He got here through this dock, which he can't access, but he can see that, hey, he came up on the dock, the boat maybe left already. So I thought that was a cool way to tie in the actual spawn event and the spawn area. After that, I added water textures to a floor. So essentially I created a floor, added a water texture that came with Unreal, and then I added a couple more at an angle so it appears like the water continues forever as it's going outward. I find this very clever. I don't know if other games do this instead of just creating an infinite pool of water that goes up into the horizon, but I found angling it in such a way, I found it a very creative way of masking the borders of the map. After that, I created boundaries so the player doesn't try to swim. I made a starting building, which is subject to change. I just wanted this to be the first area you find your NPC. In front of the starting building is where you meet your first NPC. I made the NPC give you a mission. I created a day-night cycle, and once I exported the project, it became very dark, and it wasn't what was represented in the editor at all. So a quick tip with lighting, when you export a game, it does not look anything like it's represented in the editor. So make sure you're exporting your game as much as possible to get an accurate representation of what it actually looked like. I made the mistake of thinking it was all good and packaging it like that for the demo for Patreon, and it was way darker than I assumed or that I imagined. So because of this, I made the flashlight brighter, I added street lamps along the path, and I created a health pickup. From there, I made a short playable demo where you get to see the starting area, speak with the NPC, and try to go down the left road as the mission progresses. And when you travel down the left side road on your way to the asylum, you have a shoot up challenge wave-based area where you can find heals along the path, and you can fight enemies that spawn every 4 seconds, 4 of them. So it is possible. I have a video of me completing it, so it is definitely possible. This is just something that I made for anyone in our private server, which you can get access to if you sign up for Patreon. There's a lot of stuff that I showcase. I showcase basically every time I'm making something. Screenshots progression when a new YouTube video came out, as well as resources like downloading demos, old stuff that I have there. So yeah, if you want to join us there, join us over at Patreon, like $1 for a regular member, and it's $5 if you want to become a tester and you want to be able to download all these projects. So after the demo, I continued making progress in form of level design. I recreated the asylum level on the open world map, then added all the features from the Devlog 2 showcase, which is essentially all the mechanics that will be integral to this certain mission and this certain level. I made a variant of the door system so you can just open doors without a key. I swapped out the all for one head, shout out to the little bro for that, and I replaced it with an actual key. I added a placeholder shoulder permanent healing effect. So whenever you press R, you will now be healed. I want to add more effects, more magic, more. I want it to be very fantastical in nature. I want there to be, you know, either magic or abilities or powers that either your character only possesses or only stuff integral to the plot. I think it's a cool way to tie in the low poly feel with the missions, the story, and the visual effects. So that's why it looks like this when you heal. And this is what we have so far from start to finish. Thank you for sticking around, and here's the showcase. I can't wait to see you guys on Devlog 4.